Back in 2017, I left college as a 16-year-old kid and I couldn't get a job anywhere. But there was one thing that I knew. I wanted to make some money. I didn't know how yet. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know where I was going to do it. I didn't know what to start doing, but I just started. Now, I started not because I knew the answers, but out of necessity because I couldn't get a job. What this led to was me getting into hustle mode. I really went all out. I started cutting down my living expenses. I was still living at home. I wasn't spending any money, and I was putting all my money into various side hustles. I started on the markets because that's what I knew. I was selling eggs, going to my own market stalls. I bought a little van for £800. That cost me like $3,500 on the insurance. But it was my portal to start making money and start making moves for myself. And I started doing every single hustle that you could think of. I was this street gritty hustler kid. If you went to the city of Leeds and you were walking down Briggate on any weekend, you would have seen me on the market in my fingerless gloves. I used to work outside of Harvey Nichols and I used to watch people walk in wearing designer clothing that were my age, going shopping, and I was stood on the markets. And what I did was I looked at those people and I thought, you'll see. That's where hustle mode got activated. Had no idea what I was doing, but what I did know was I need a product and I need to sell a product and then I can make money. I've always bought and sold as a kid. I remember selling stuff from even 9 years old, and that was chewing gum on the school swimming coach. And that's where the hustle started. That's what opened my mind to realise that if you've got something to sell and you've got customers that want to buy it, you can stand in the middle and make some money. Supply and demand. And this is where it all started. From then, I started trying to make money in anything, and I was doing anything. At one point, I was picking up scrap metal in the back of my van. I couldn't even drive past a piece of metal on the road without picking it up because I saw money in it. Now, I didn't care what people thought. I was making money at the end of the day, and I was in my own world so much, I didn't care what the hustle was. I had one goal in mind, and I wanted to make some money. I was doing markets every single week. I was picking up scrap metal. I was doing odd jobs for anyone. I was selling cigarettes. I was doing any little hustle. Even if I were earning £2 an hour, the way I looked at it, I'm better off earning £2 an hour than nothing and wasting my time. And that's what I did. I started getting into entrepreneurial content, watching guys like Gary Vee and Grant Cardone online. I started really studying how to make money and watching these people and downloading their mindset and started using it for myself. I was putting all of my money back into the business. Then one of my friends suggested outlet stores. I went to my first outlet store and I bought a couple of pairs of shoes and I resold them on eBay. And then I started noticing there's some money in there. So I started going to the outlet more often. Then I started getting better stuff. And then I started going on a daily basis. I started working it out. I started talking with the other buyers. They were very reluctant to let me into the circle, but I pushed my way in. I started going every day. I started learning about the products. And then I was buying and selling all the time. I mixed using my time through the day to be doing hustles that required my time that I could swap for money. But then I was also making money online by selling stuff on eBay, and I would buy as much as I possibly could. I remember at one point I was fighting to get my bank account down because I was just trying to buy as much stock as possible, because the more stuff I bought, the more money that I made. And it was all going back into the business. All my time, energy and money going back into the business. And then I moved into my first office, filled that, it overflowed, then my second office. Then I built the website. Then I started making e-commerce sales. Then I got into e-com. I started building the brand. I started traveling around the country to go to trade events and talking to people and building the brand. I went through a lot of problems and I didn't know how to do any of it. This was my first business. But bit by bit, I pieced it together. And then I started doing 20 grand months. Then that went to 30 grand months, 50 grand months, 60 grand months, and so on. And then I was making real money at 22, 23 years old. I was making real cash, real money. I started going on podcasts. I went on the biggest business podcast in the UK, CEO Cast, and I just started working like a workhorse. Started meeting other entrepreneurs. I started networking. I moved into an even better office. And I turned it into a proper e-commerce brand all by myself. I only ever had one full-time employee, and then I used virtual assistants to help me out. And what I will say is, I got into that situation because I was needing a job and I couldn't get a job. So it was out of necessity. And I just started building it time and time again. Now, I had no prior experience of anything to do with content, social media, websites, advertising with Google, brand building, how to keep books, how to do stock taking, money management. I had no idea, no experience at all. I didn't even know what it was like to structure your day in a business. I never had any of that experience. But one thing that I did have was a very strong work ethic. The point of this story is you need to start before you know how. One of the biggest psyops that social media has caused is that everybody is a professional. Everybody is not a professional. The difference between the guys that you watch online that you emulate and you want to be like, those guys took the action of starting before they knew how. You don't have to know all the answers. The path will reveal itself as you walk down it. I'm a kid from Bradford. People around me didn't do this path. They didn't go down this path. They didn't know how. They didn't have the confidence how. But I saw it as an opportunity and I just started doing it. And look, I'm not highly educated. It's all self-taught off YouTube. I made over £1 million on YouTube, free content. But what I did know is I knew my goal. I knew what I wanted. I wanted to be rich. And look, I'm not rich yet. We're still getting there. With the goal in mind, it can pull you through the darkest times, even when you don't know the answers. But what you find is, when you're the type of person to start before you know how, you pick up the confidence within yourself because you've done it time and time and time again. Who even gives qualifications? University? Well, I didn't go to uni. Jobs? Who decides you're qualified? You decide you're qualified. So you need to just make a start. Now, a big way I was managing to do this is through the power of not giving a fuck. I didn't care what anybody thought. When I first started getting into business, my content was terrible. I was taking pictures on my kitchen floor at my parents' house. My setup was not good. I didn't have any of the social media skills, but I put my time and effort in and I started before I knew how, and I figured it out along the way. And from that, I turned £200 into a business that ended up doing £1.5 million, all before 23. It's really insane what you can do, especially with the internet. And if you're expecting to know how before you start, then it's a poor expectation and it's going to hold you back. It is going to hold you back. You are not less qualified than other people. The only difference is between people who seem to be more qualified is that those guys have taken the action. But the power of not giving a fuck means you can execute without the judgment because you don't care. That's the level you need to get to. And the way you don't care is by having your goals in mind first. And the bigger your goal, the less you're going to care about people that are getting in front of your goal. Because if your goal's so big and you know it's coming, then how can you care about the opinions of people when you're on the way to that goal? So one of the most important things is to really visualize your life. When I was wearing clothes I didn't want to wear, and I had fingerless gloves on in the freezing cold, stood up all day, doing the market stalls, I had the goal in mind. I knew where I was going. That was what was able to pull me through all the shit hustles that I did. I had my goal. I was crystal clear about who I wanted to be. I used to fantasize about what car I'd be driving, what clothes I'd be wearing, where I'm going to be, who I'm going to speak into. I would fantasize about the person I want to be with that much detail to where I'm so drawn to it and I can see the steps clearly of how I'm going to get there. And that's still a journey that I'm on. That's not complete by me by any means whatsoever. But when I've got this massive goal in mind, it can put you in the worst circumstances possible and you're still going because you're thinking of the goal. You've seen it so clearly and you believe it so much because when you've started, before you know how, you're still taking action. Do not be afraid to look like a beginner, okay? Everybody you watch on the internet, the first draft was terrible. The first video they put out, go look at Iman Gadzhi, right? Biggest finance YouTuber in the space, amazing personal brand, highest level of production, highest echelon of society. Go look at his first videos. He was doing personal training videos. He didn't know what he was doing, but he started. It just started. And that's the key. It's just starting. You only have to do one thing and then it classes as you've started the full journey. You've started a lifelong, life-changing journey just from doing that first thing, but it's starting. And it's starting before you know how. This is a comfort thing that people imagine in their mind. Oh, well, when this happens, I'll do this. When I've learned this, this will happen. When I finish this will happen. These are all excuses to make yourself feel more comfortable. Take action on your goals today. No more waiting. You can make it happen. Believe me, you can make it happen. Get on your goals. Get crystal clear about who you want to be. Start taking action on a daily basis, and it will come. It might take a long time, 1 year, 6 months, 5 years, but it will come if you do the action. Subscribe down below.